morning. Sorry for the delay. My name's Ileana. Welcome to our first OPAL 90-minute program of 2025, entitled Casting Our Nets, a Call to Action. My name is Ileana Cordova, and I am currently a member of the OPAL team and discerning my call to become an associate with the Sisters of the Incarnate Word community located in Parma Heights. We also want to extend our welcome to any and all who are joining us on OPAL presentation for the first time. My husband, Alex, is also an associate and a member of OPAL team. You might be able to see him today. I'm not exactly sure how he's feeling. In our morning time together, we will have prayer, a reflection on the morning's theme, hear from 3 different associates about what good things are happening in their communities. There will be a time for a breakout session and then a general response. At the moment, I ask that you please mute yourselves unless you are speaking. At this time, I would like to turn the program over to our fellow OPAL team member, Linda Hoffman, who will lead us in prayer. Again, welcome to all our OPAL session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Heflin, and I'm an associate, actually the associate director of the Sisters of Divine Providence in Allison Park. Currently, I am in California, so it's pretty early here, but we're going to start with an opening prayer. So our prayer centers around whom shall I send? Answering God's call is not only a privilege, but also a responsibility. When we respond to God's call, we are aligning our lives with His divine purpose. Whether it's to minister, to serve others, or to lead in faith, the Lord has equipped you for the work. Through prayer, we can connect with God's heart and understand how God wants us to move forward in God's purpose. And so we pray. Your response will be, "Here I am, send me." Provident God, we gather to glorify you, singing, "Holy, holy, holy." And your response, here am I, send me. Lord, I am an imperfect being. Cleanse me with the fire of your love. Here am I, send me. You alone can give me the strength and wisdom to fulfill my vocation of associate life. Here am I, send me. Help me to cast my net upon the waters of life. Here am I, send me. Open the hearts of all to whom I am sent. Here am I, send me. As my net is breaking, let like-minded people join together to fulfill our mission. Here am I, send me. When we arrive on the shore, as community, direct us to be fishers of people. Here am I, send me. Grant us the courage to follow your gospel teachings. Here am I, send me. You changed water into wine Change us to do whatever you tell us. Here am I, send me. Finally, we loudly proclaim, here am I, send me. And now we'll get some opening comments from Barbara Spencer. Welcome, Barbara.
Thanks, Linda, very much. I'm Barb Spencer, and I'm an associate of the Ursuline Sisters of Youngstown, Ohio, and also a member of the OPAL team. This morning, I'd like to share a reflection with you about our title theme, Casting the Nets, a Call to Action. It was inspired by last Sunday's Gospel. Luke tells us in chapter 5 that the disciples had worked hard all night and had caught nothing. I think we've all experienced that at some point in time, working hard and not seeing much or any results. But Jesus ignores all that and just simply tells Simon, put out into deep water and lower your nets for a catch. Simon states the obvious back. We've caught nothing. But good for Simon, because he quickly responds, but at your command, Jesus, we will lower the nets. So great was their catch that they signaled their partners for help. And I think it's a wonderful story for us today to continue to reflect upon. First, what personally struck me was that Jesus was not asking the apostles to do something unfamiliar to them. They already possessed the skills to fish. What was different was the need to trust the person making the request to them. We too have the skills needed. We too have to trust that the person Jesus making the same request to us as well, put out into deep water. He gives us the same command. Then and now, confidence and courage were needed that Jesus would be with them in the endeavor. Second, the apostles worked in collaboration with one another. No one was solo within the whole process of fishing and the catch. We as well are not solo. We have our own communities, one another, and many networks of others following the vision to go deep. We have the Holy Spirit and the guidance of the ancestors in the faith and our founders. What then must we do? Sister Macrina Whitaker, Order of Saint Benedict, tells us in her work Abide, learn to listen. Learn to go deep. Deep calls unto deep, she said. Learn to abide. Trust the deepening places. You are being chosen, she said, for the deepening places. So as we continue this morning and in the months to come, I encourage us to do just that. Our Blessed Mother herself tells us in the gospel story of Cana, do whatever he tells you. And those were her last spoken words recorded in the Gospels, echoing down to us to have certitude in her Son. Even in the story of the multiplication of the loaves and fish, Jesus asked his followers to realize what they already had in hand, a handful of food already in their possession. The difference was they had to organize themselves and believe in the process of learning to go deep. Remember, it is a process. Go back to the scriptures of February 9th, and in the first reading, Isaiah too heard the voice. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? All of our founders have heard the voice and answered. We hear that voice as well. He says to us, put out into deep water and lower your nets for a catch. How will we answer? Amen. At this time, I'd like to turn our program over to Donna Humphrey, who is an associate with the Humility of Mary Sisters and also a member of our OPAL team. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for that wonderful reflection. Barbara has done a great job of leading our group and keeping us on task. Some of us need that a little more than others, and we certainly appreciate all that she has done and the time she's committed. So over these last few years, we have learned more and more about each other, and we're growing in our relationships, realizing that even though our charisms and missions and our histories are different, we have a lot in common. So now we are challenged to find how we can use the graces of our charisms to find new ways to work together and support each other. For that is what we are being called to do. The Synod's second session that concluded in Rome in October has helped us understand that our church is in a period of major transformation. The message that has come from conversations held all over the world is that all who are baptized as people of God have a co-responsibility to use their gifts to further the mission of the church. So we continue to find ways to walk together on our faith journey, realizing the road ahead of us will be neither straight nor easy. But that is the road we are being called to take as lay leaders in our associate vocation. OPAL has the word leadership in its title, and I hope we realize that we all have the capability of being leaders. Leadership is not just for those who have titles. Leaders are those who elevate others, and we all have gifts and opportunities that provide leadership in our faith communities, our church, and our world. So today we're going to listen to associate leaders who tell us how their associate communities are walking the synodal path, looking to a future filled with hope. Lots of questions? Sure. But hope for all of us is found in the knowledge that Jesus is walking with us at all times. These leaders will be sharing their stories of how they collaborate with others, how they plan for sustainability, and how they are preparing themselves to share the good news of their associate community with others. So we're going to start with Dan Wakefield, who is going to tell us how the Youngstown Ursuline community and the Sisters of Humility of Mary community work together in ministry at the Dorothy Day House in Youngstown. Dan?
Thank you very much, Donna. Hi, everybody. Hi, sisters, associates, and friends. I'm so excited to join you this morning to talk a little bit about Dorothy Day and Dorothy Day House in Youngstown. My name is Dan Wakefield. I am an associate with the Ursuline Sisters of Youngstown, and I first started my involvement at the Dorothy Day House in Youngstown as a board member back in 2016. but I currently serve now as one of the co-coordinators of the Dorothy Day House here in Youngstown. So I wanted to start by giving the first word to Dorothy herself. One of my favorite quotes of hers is on the screen here. Does God have a set way of prayer, a way that he expects each of us to follow? I doubt it. I believe some people, lots of people, pray through the witness of their lives, through the work they do, the friendships they have, the love they offer people, and receive from people. Since when are words the only acceptable form of prayer? We have been very fortunate at the Dorothy Day House in Youngstown to have a lot of individuals who are praying through the witness of their lives, both volunteers and the guests who come to the house to receive services. And so at the Dorothy Day House of Hospitality, it began as a joint effort between the Sisters of the Humility of Mary and the Ursuline Sisters of Youngstown. Pictured on your screen here is Sister Ann McManaman, who is a sister of the Humility of Mary. She was the founder of the Dorothy Day House here in Youngstown, and she was the longtime coordinator of the house. Sister Ann began the Dorothy Day House when she was 75 years old, and she retired in January of 2023 at the age of 89. The Dorothy Day House in Youngstown opened its doors in November of 2009. And as Sister Ann was preparing for retirement, one of the things that she recommended is that a leadership team would take her place as the house coordinators, recognizing, as we all know, a lot of the responsibilities and time that it takes to participate and be a part of ministry work. And so that is something that we did decide to adopt following Sister Ann's retirement. So there is two co-coordinators, myself and another woman who coordinate for the house. The services that we provide at the Dorothy Day House include an evening meal service 4 nights a week, so Monday through Thursday evenings. We open the doors to anyone who has a need. There's no registration or no application process, so anyone that has a need in our community. We're serving a lot of homeless individuals along with individuals who are living in poverty. We offer showers weekly also for anyone that has a need. We have a garden at the site where we use produce for the meal service that we have, along with distributing it to the guests when we have an excess of a bounty from our garden. We also do a monthly gifting of personal hygiene products and supplies that we offer out to the guests. So things that people cannot use like food stamps to purchase, but have necessities for, we offer that. And then being true to Dorothy Day's vision of not only providing charity, but advocating for justice work. We do monthly justice roundtable discussions at the house. Those monthly discussions are centered around guest speakers that come and talk about a social justice related topic. And anyone in the community is welcome to attend. And we encourage the guests of the Dorothy Day House also to attend those roundtables. At the Dorothy Day House, we also have for the past several years housed one individual who has had a need and is currently attending our local university, Youngstown State University. This past summer, we also welcomed 3 displaced residents. There was a tragedy downtown, and it caused an apartment complex needing to be temporarily evacuated. So for the summer months, about 3 months or so, we had 3 displaced residents who were displaced who stayed at the Dorothy Day House as well. And then we currently are undergoing a few renovations. We're nearly complete with that to provide some additional housing support within the community as well. And so we're excited about this next phase, next chapter here at Dorothy Day House. And then we also offer a food pantry for a monthly food distribution. So there's a lot of great work that's happening at the Youngstown Dorothy Day House, in large part because of course, our volunteers and supporters. But of course, we're also guided by the charism of the sisters and the associates whose presence with us help make all the difference in what we're doing. And so what does that presence look like? Well, at the Dorothy Day House, one of the things that makes us a little unique, I think, is that we all are volunteers. So there's not a paid position that exists at the Dorothy Day House. We're an all volunteer run organization. So myself, as one of the Ursuline associates, I am one of the co-coordinators. We also have at the Dorothy Day House a structure where we have what we call a core team. The core team consists of volunteers who really have taken on a lot of responsibility with different services that get provided at the house. So on that previous slide, like the shower program, the gifting program, etc. We have 10 core team members. We meet every month. We meet to discuss how we're doing with fulfilling the mission of the Dorothy Day House, as well as discuss and talk about any concerns or new ideas that we have. Of the 10 core team members, 4 of us are Ursuline associates, and 1 is a soon-to-be HM associate. It will be then 50% of the core team that make up the Dorothy Day House will be associates from both communities. We currently also have 10 Ursuline associates and 2 Ursuline sisters who help us on a weekly basis, volunteering at the house, at the meal service, and at showers. We have a few HM associates, who on their own coordinate and provide meals for the house and have assisted with providing food distribution. One of the HM associates works at a local bakery, and so she's coordinated for us to pick up from that bakery each week, so that we could provide bread and pastries and other goodies to the guests of the Dorothy Day House. And each associate group also organizes on a quarterly basis a meal service for the house. So what that means is they prepare the meal and they serve the meal on site to the guests as well. And so these are just some of the ways that the associates and the sisters have been involved and present at the house. We also have seen presence within the governance and the financing of the house. Another thing that makes us maybe a little unique is that we do actually have 2 organizations that exist and 2 boards that exist at the Dorothy Day House. We have a hospitality board, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And that's what operates really the services that go on at the house, the meals, the showers, the gifting. On that hospitality board, we currently have 14 board members, 2 of which are HM sisters and 1 Ursuline sister. We have 1 HM associate and 1 Ursuline associate. And the current board president is a name we all know here in our Zoom meeting. It's Sister Toby. So if she's not running your Zoom, she's helping us run our meetings with the hospitality board. We also then have a house board. A house board is a 501c4 organization. And that really focuses on more of the physical properties and also the justice roundtables. That allows us to engage with justice work, which again is a pretty big component here of the Dorothy Day model and Dorothy Day House and mission. On the House board, we currently have 9 board members that serve on that board, 2 of which are HM associates and 1 is an Ursuline sister. And then we have an Ursuline associate as well that serves on that House board. With finances, the Dorothy Day House does not receive any government funding. And so all of our funding is through individual donations, through local foundations and local grants. The HM sisters have an HM Legacy Trust grant that we have been very fortunate to be a recipient of over the past several years. And so the HM Legacy Trust grant and sisters have been a very generous financial supporter of the work that we do at the house as well. And beyond the 2 communities of the Sisters of the Humility Mary and the Ursuline Sisters, we also have different church groups. Like, for example, many of the local parishes will get involved and prepare a meal and serve a meal. Sometimes it's the Altar Rosary Societies of the churches. Sometimes it's the Knights of Columbus. And so all of them are there in those capacities helping us and working alongside of us. And then we also have other religious groups too that come in and will assist as well. In many cases, we have other groups, and we even have Catholic schools that will help with contributing donations for personal hygiene products. They do collections for us. And so that's been really such a fulfilling experience to see truly like a community effort to try to keep the services and provide the caliber of services that we are at Dorothy Day House. We do also receive a monthly meal donation from our local hospital. The nutrition services in the hospital serves and provides a weekly meal or a monthly meal for us. And there is an HM connection with the local hospital as well. So those connections that have been built historically have continued to benefit us at Dorothy Day House. And we have had some events that offer opportunities for the HMs and Ursulines to participate alongside each other. Annually, we do have a volunteer appreciation dinner. We also have an annual summer picnic. We recently just celebrated the 15th anniversary of the house, and so we had an anniversary mass and celebration. And so there's a lot of ways that we can consider potential continued ways to help with this collaboration. And so that's just a little bit about us and how we've utilized and done the best that we can to provide the services that we do. Since we started with a Dorothy Day quote, I thought we could end with a quick Dorothy Day prayer here. It says, "What we do is very little, but it is like the little boy with a few loaves and fishes. Christ took that little and increased it. He will do the rest. What we do is so little, we may seem to be constantly failing, but so did he fail. He met with apparent failure on the cross. But unless the seed fall into the earth and die, there is no harvest. And why must we be the ones to see the results? Our work is to sow. Another generation will be reaping the harvest." I thank you so much for your time and attention this morning. And I think I'll probably be turning it back over to Donna to introduce Suzanne, is my guess. And so I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you so much.
Dan, that was amazing. We really appreciate sharing your thoughts in your prayer. It's obvious you are doing amazing work there, and I love how the two groups are working together. We'll have an opportunity to ask Dan some questions later. We're gonna do all three of our presentations first, but I'm sure if you have questions for Dan, save them, and we'll do those later. So next up, we have Suzanne Gabrick, an associate with the Sisters of Notre Dame, who's going to talk to us about the process they are going through to prepare for organizational independence, and good luck with that. Okay, Suzanne?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am so excited to be here. I am going to get my slideshow started. And Dan, what a wonderful presentation. That is truly amazing what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing. So my name is Suzanne Gabrick, and I am an associate with the Sisters of Notre Dame. I live in Fairlawn, Ohio, which is close to Akron. Our sisters are based in Chardon, Ohio. At least some of them. That's my closest group that I'm associated with. And today I want to talk about the future for the associates of the Sisters of Notre Dame as we work towards independence. And I just want to thank OPAL for inviting me. Donna, thank you so much for casting your net out to us to come talk today. It's truly a wonderful opportunity to be with you all. So I have a little bit of agenda in my short talk here this morning. I just want to make an introduction, give a brief history of the Sisters of Notre Dame and the associates, and then get into the real meat here, our call to action, the progress we've made so far towards independence, and some helpful tips that we found throughout the way. And then Donna mentioned that Q&A will be later on after our third speaker. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions at that time. So to introduce you all to the Sisters of Notre Dame and the Associates of the Sisters of Notre Dame, this is a picture of our steering committee that led the associate gathering of all of our associates throughout the United States. There are approximately 550 associates associated with the 4 regions of sisters in the United States. And this is a picture of the steering committee. I'm in the blue in the middle. And we are pictured with Sister Kristen Battles, who was our Superior General of the Worldwide Congregation at the time. And so this was on the weekend of our 2017 associate gathering. So I just wanted to share that picture with you. I've been an associate for 17, almost 18 years now. And it really has been a blessing to be a part of our leadership team here in Chardon. We have 3 co-directors now. We just brought on a new co-director. I am one of them. And so our other regions also have leadership representation as well. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So the congregation of the Sisters of Notre Dame, they're members of, as I mentioned, the international congregation that began in Coesfeld, Germany in 1850. 2 teachers, Hildegonda Wolbring and Elizabeth Cooling, cared for poor, neglected children whose families were unable to provide for them. At the invitation and encouragement of Reverend Theodore Elting, the 2 women decided to continue their good work as vowed religious. They were already formed in the spiritual and pedagogical tradition of Reverend Overberg. Through the Sisters of Notre Dame of Amersfoort, Holland, they received a way of religious life that came from St. Julie Billiard, foundress of the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. Hildegonda Wolbring became known as Sister Mary Aloysia, and Elizabeth Cooling, Sister Maria Ignatia. The new Coesfeld congregation expressed its charism, a deep experience of God's goodness and provident care, both in spirituality and in apostolic ministry. The Coesfeld Sisters of Notre Dame developed a flourishing educational ministry from kindergarten to teacher education. Beyond education, their work extended to the care of neglected children and infirm elderly. Laws passed by the Bismarck government during the Kulturkampf between 1872 and 1875 removed religious sisters from teaching positions in the public elementary schools and expelled teaching congregations from Prussia. The situation led the Coesfeld congregation to seek a new field of labor in the United States. So in July of 1874, 8 sisters arrived in Cleveland, Ohio, including the foundress, Sister Maria Aloysia. Over the next 4 years, 200 Sisters of Notre Dame came to the United States to teach children of immigrants, mainly across Northern Ohio and in the Covington, Cincinnati area in 1920. In the Covington, Cincinnati area. And then in 1924, Toledo, Ohio, and Covington, Kentucky were established as provinces, separate from the Cleveland province. That same year, sisters from Cleveland started working in the Watts area of Los Angeles and in Huntington Park, California, which became the 4th U.S. province in 1961. In each province, the sisters built their own administrative centers and schools and formed new members. In their collaborative style of ministry, the sisters connect effectively with community partners, volunteers, and governmental agencies. From each province, the sisters extended their ministries of education, healthcare, social justice initiatives, and faith formation across the United States and into new international missions in India, East Africa, and Papua New Guinea. So that gives you a little bit of background of the sisters and their ministries. Now, In 2020 was a pivotal year for the sisters. On July 5th of 2020, after 9 years of preparation, the 4 provinces of Chardon, Covington, Los Angeles, and Toledo united as one province. The Sisters of Notre Dame of the United States of America, part of an international congregation of Catholic women serving the church in 17 countries on 5 continents, united in one heart, one hope, and one mission. The sisters remain committed to global transformation and invite others to participate in this mission in their own unique ways. I think the main parts to talk about this is a little bit further. What that means to us as associates is that the sisters are finding themselves here in the United States as mentors and facilitators for mission in other parts of the world. And they are just loving this role that they've taken on. You know, it's so sad that we're facing these diminishing congregations, but at the same time, we can all be hopeful as the sisters are in their newfound roles as still collaborating with communities where they work and live, and then also too across the world. Matter of fact, sisters are teaching sisters from other parts of the world here in Ohio English, how to speak English, how to write English, and it's just been a wonderful experience for them. In the year 2000 is when our associate relationship began. Now, so for some of you, this may be, we're relatively young. You know, many of you may have had associates much longer than that. But yes, in 2000, our first associates came to be. So now, talk a little bit of our call to action. So in 2023, in September of 2023, Sister Margaret Gorman, who is the USA Provincial Superior of the congregation, she presented a far-reaching proposal for restructuring of the associate leadership and independence. Sister Regina Fisher, a member of the SND USA leadership team and the liaison for the associates, introduced Sister Margaret and facilitated the Q&A part of that session. As I mentioned, the associates began 24 years ago in California, and in the next few years was organized in the other regions of the country. The associate relationship grew and flourished as laypersons now have the opportunity to share in the SND charism and the ministries and mission of the sisters. This vision benefits both sisters and associates in numerous ways. The current leadership of SND associates in the United States includes both sisters and associates. In Sister Margaret's vision, the structure and governance of the associates would become independent of the sisters and autonomous. Sisters would continue to support and encourage the associates, but not be involved in leadership or planning. This will not happen overnight, we've learned, but over the next 10 years, and now since then, 8 years, time's ticking, we plan to establish a strong associate structure and emerging leadership. Sister Margaret Gorman told us, start with the end goal and then work to the present and see how you should proceed. So that was our call. You can imagine we were nervous. You can imagine there was a lot of questions. And from there, we have made some progress. As I mentioned, each associate, each region of the United States, we are now calling the associates in areas because the sisters have 4 regions, but the associates actually have 5 areas. So we do have a large associate presence in Florida as well. We have a sister liaison in Sister Regina Fisher, who undoubtedly has been a strong support, and knowing that the sisters have our backs and are supportive has been the #1 success of this initiative so far. We were given a blank slate. We were told, you can run this how you want as long as you remain connected to us through our charism, keeping in mind our mission and vision of who we are. So it's been quite an interesting year. We started with brainstorming sessions. The national leadership is composed of about 13 associates. Over the last year, we went from also our national leadership group having sisters involved. But as of last week, we received the message that sisters will no longer be involved in our national leadership team meetings. So we have come to a point where we have made some initial goals of what that structure will look like. 2, or actually 1 officially of our areas has become 100% associate led, thanks to the 2 sisters who were the former leaders of that area, allowing the associates, teaching the associate leadership their best practices and lending their support. And so we are finding that our accomplishments are great in that we spent a lot of time understanding each other, understanding our different cultures, our different areas. For example, the associates in California are from all over California, not just Los Angeles. So you can imagine the great geographical, and in Los Angeles, the traffic constraints that they have in their operations. So that's just one example. The associates in Covington are much more closer to each other, and they do a lot of things together as a whole group. So we've taken that into consideration as well. Understanding where we're coming from, our different cultures, is very important. So we've taken our accomplishments and we have set up a national leadership structure with job descriptions that we're going to continue to expand on. And we've realized that some of our areas are not as balanced as the fully functioning leadership team of Covington right now. Or in Chardon, we have still a sister who is getting ready to retire in our leadership team. She's ready, so she's about to do that in the next month or 2. So we're meeting each other where we're at, and we also have some areas that need some help. Now, as in Dan's presentation, he mentioned the organization taking on an independent role from a 503 perspective and being a nonprofit. That is still yet to be determined for us. So we are still very much in the beginning of this process. But what I can tell you is I do have some tips and some takeaways. First of all, the support of the sisters, as I mentioned earlier, they have been providing resources, they have been helping us financially, and they have also given us, in Sister Regina Fisher, a very, very supportive sister liaison. Now, I do have to mention here, financially, all of our associates and all of our associate leadership is volunteer. So we don't have any paid leadership at this time. Another tip I can offer you is be realistic. 10 years in the beginning, we thought, oh, wow, that's a long time. And now that we're a year in, and by the time we meet again, we'll be 2 years in, maybe that time's moving a little faster than we thought, but we'll keep an eye on it. We also have some of our associates and sisters have thought 10 years, will we be around in 10 years? Those are some of the things that, we never know when God is going to take us home. But a lot of our associates are in their golden years and older. And I think it's refreshing for them to know that the associates will continue on. Another realization that we've come to is change. Changes in the shape of what this group is going to look like and the style. So the biggest comparison and contrast to this is the associates are lay people and we are volunteers. This is yes, we are associates. We have taken a covenant with God to be associates of the Sisters of Notre Dame in our own unique way. So that being said, we have had several situations where sisters and associates both have expressed their concern that things aren't the way they always were. So it's our job to show them there is hope, and with change brings progress. Which leads me to overcoming some obstacles, being cognizant of change management. And the biggest part of change management is listening. Listen to what your associates are saying. Listen to what the sisters are saying. Listen to what your other leaders are saying. And also communicate. You can't communicate enough about what is going on, because if your associates are spread out like ours are, rumors tend to start, talk tends to happen, and that's okay. But communication from the leaders is very important to keep everyone informed and on the right track. Where we find ourselves challenged in some areas is with those volunteering to be leaders. We try to stay away from the word leader because, as Donna mentioned in the beginning, all different types of people can be leaders and not even know it, right? So we're not reaching out to our associates and saying, we want you to be a leader. We're reaching out to our associates and letting them know, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. We think you would be a good part of this part of what we're doing. Would you like to join us? It's always been with the Sisters of Notre Dame, that personal invitation to join the sisters, to join the associates, and allow that period of discernment. Understanding the unique diversity in every area. All 5 of our groups function differently for obvious reasons. As I mentioned earlier, geography is one of them. And that's all I have for you. So we are just starting to wrap everything up. I would be more than happy to share with you as we progress through the years what we're doing. And I would love to hear from you if this is something that you're undertaking or thinking about undertaking. OPAL is the place to be. That's what I've told our associates. That's what I've told our sisters. And we are so proud to be a part of this organization. Thank you very much.
Suzanne, thank you for that presentation. I know there's been a lot of talk, as was even pointed out in the article this week, about change and nobody likes change and how uncomfortable it makes you feel, but it's something I think we're all gonna be facing at some point, if not now. So thank you. Suzanne will be available at the end for a few minutes for some questions. So we're right now gonna move on to Judy Lisco and Jan Huter from the Sisters of Humility of Mary, and they're going to talk about their plan to help sisters and associates feel more comfortable about speaking about and inviting others to the associate vocation. We had our first session this week and it was fabulous, but I'm not going to steal your thunder, folks, so you're on.
All right.
It's
Good
coming
enough.
up. It's coming up now.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Jan Huter, and I'm an associate with the Sisters of the Humility of Mary, and I've been an associate for since 2019. And Judy and I have a great deal of information to share in 10 minutes, so we're going to get right to it. And our topic is our training program for associate outreach. And what is the purpose? To help associates gain skills and confidence in reaching out to others to talk about the associates and invite interested people to think about becoming an associate. And why are we doing this? Well, back in 2022, in our planning process with the associates, we sent out surveys to all the associates and all the HM sisters. And these surveys were very extensive. It just wasn't, 3 or 4 questions. The survey included many topics related to the associates, such as identity and mission, initial and ongoing formation, outreach and inviting new members, engaging membership, and communication. And in the area of outreach to others, many sisters and associates expressed several challenges they had in reaching out to others. And one of the challenges is not knowing how to describe or explain who the associates are and what they do. Everybody knows an individual associate, but as a collective group, what are the associates all about? The second concern was needing to have a compelling message to share with others. Again, what is that associate message all about? And third concern was having a small network of contacts and limited opportunities to talk about associates. So many of our members were saying, I just don't get out as much as I used to. And when I do, my social circles are very limited. It's not like it used to be. So following the surveys, we formed small groups that we called wisdom circles. And among other recommendations, a new associate brochure was created, and also a new formation process, which began last spring. And there are currently 8 candidates in the program. And traditionally, we've always had a sister as a mentor, but this year we've added having an associate also as a mentor. So each candidate has a sister and an associate as a mentor. And when our groups get together, oh my gosh, they are so exciting. There is so much energy, and they are truly a spirit-filled gathering. It's just absolutely wonderful. And what we also realized is that all of these candidates, all 8 of them, were approached to be invited to the formation program by a personal invitation. it was that one-on-one contact, that personal invitation is what is so, so important. So in the meantime, it's time for us to think about inviting people to participate in our next formation series. And we wanted to do something to help associates and sisters become more comfortable reaching out to others to become an associate. So we created a 3-part Zoom session. It is open to all associates and all the sisters, no matter how active they consider themselves. And the purpose of these 3 sessions is to help each other gain skills and confidence in reaching out to others to talk about the associates. The 3 sessions include presentations, practical tips, time to practice in a small group, and questions, and of course, conversation. Each session is 90 minutes, and each session is presented twice, once in the morning time slot and the other in early evening, so more people can participate. And I'm going to turn this over to Judy now.
Thank you, Jan. My name is Judy Lisco. I am an HM and associate, and I have been an associate since 1986. And today I would like to just go over a brief overview of what our breakout sessions include. First session, the message, information about the associates. Purpose, to review basic information about the HM Associates. What is the message we have to share? And most of the information for the first session is taken directly from our associate brochure and our associate handbook. We are the HM Associates. A brief history of associate, or who are the HM Associates? A brief history of the associates, what they do, and how they are connected to the sisters, etc. Second purpose, to practice through role play how to talk with one another about the HM associates and be able to answer their questions. Participants are in small groups with a partner to ask and answer questions about the associates. Following the role play practice, there was time to debrief about the experience and how it went. Both associates and sisters agreed that it was a very good session and very helpful. Our second session, the messenger. What gifts and skills are helpful in reaching out? The purpose, to identify personal traits, competencies, and skills that are helpful for good communication and for inviting others. A PowerPoint presentation, a personal traits, and describes how one thinks, feels, and behaves as one interacts with others, and competencies and skills that you have learned and can learn. And 2, to reflect on one's own personal strengths and challenges in reaching out to others. Personal reflection, to identify some of the personal traits that are helpful in approaching others, some of the competencies and skills that have been learned, and areas one would like to work on. The practice session again was role playing, inviting someone to consider becoming an associate. And following the role play, what felt good about how you did? What were the challenges for you? And the third session, becoming associate ambassadors. Purpose, to know what the characteristics of an ambassador are. And presentation for the PowerPoint, the role of an ambassador, a representative of the HM Associates who facilitates relationships, connects people with the HM community, and communicates with energy about what it means to be an associate. Second purpose, to practice through role play, expressing some of the qualities of an ambassador, interacting with another person to create meaningful connections, coming across as approachable, communicative, and enthusiastic about sharing the message with others. In the large group, how was the experience this time? Did you feel more comfortable now answering the questions? And what do you need that will help you become more comfortable about speaking to others about the associates? We completed our first session this past week. We had 2 sessions, and we had many associates and sisters participate, and I think everyone left very encouraged and enthusiastic. Thank you.
So what is our next step? The next step is a come and see. For this, we ask sisters and associates to invite interested people to an introductory come and see Zoom session. This is just to introduce prospective people to the associates. These come and see sessions are ideal for the person who hasn't expressed an interest in the associates, but just aren't too sure what it's all about. So this is a perfect start. It's an introduction. And these sessions consist of prayer, of course, the description and brief history of the HM sisters. We have 2 or 3 associates witness why they became an associate and what it means to them. We just give them an overview of the formation process, and we talk about how to apply. So that concludes our presentation, and Judy and I are so glad to have been able to share this information with you. Thank you very much.
Jan and Judy, that was awesome. And I got to tell you, I sat in on the session, and even though I've been an associate for 35 years, I learned a lot. I appreciated the opportunity to be able to practice. I thought the role playing was great. Rita, my partner, I think is also on the Zoom here today. So thank you very much for doing that. So we have just a few minutes. I would like to see if anybody has a question for Suzanne, because she's not able to stay until the end. If you have a question for Suzanne, can you please raise your hand? We will recognize you. The questions for the others can be asked a little bit later in our presentation. But does anybody have a question right now for Suzanne before she has to leave?
Suzanne, as you make the transition from sisters and associates managing the governance process to associates only with some mentorship, but with associates taking on the primary role of governance, how are you doing the education, the preparation? How are you looking for those individuals who, I know we said we weren't going to use leadership, but
Right.
how are that there are skill sets, let's face it. There are skill
Right.
sets that are required to be able to manage something of this significance. How are you doing that? What's your process?
Well, in our Chardon group, I mentioned that we just brought on a new co-director, and we brought on an administrator who is largely taking care of the associate office functions. So how we did that was we put out we had responsibilities, a list of responsibilities, and I'm an HR, a human resources professional, so I like to use job description.
Yeah.
So we put out a job description, and we made a general announcement to our associate community that we are in the discernment process of new leaders. And then we also have invited associates to nominate, and sisters to nominate individuals that they feel might be good in these roles. And then it would
Okay.
be up to the individual themselves to discern whether or not this would be something, a responsibility that they would like to take on.
Okay.
Yes.
That is very, very helpful. I'm very familiar with the Sisters of Notre Dame because the Sisters of Divine Providence in Melbourne, we're right outside of Covington. Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, I helped with one of the retreats last year with your associates.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. So do you anticipate, and maybe I missed this, having a salaried position, or will these leadership positions continue to be volunteer, or is that still being discussed?
That's still to be determined. As a matter of fact, and during our meeting, our next meeting is in person, is in October. Now, we used to only meet as a national leadership group a couple of times a year. For years, we've done that. But now we are meeting on Zoom. We are meeting much more often. But in October, we are meeting in person to, first of all, use a large portion for prayer and for listening to where we feel we need to go next. But others of us would wanted a small business meeting too. So we're
Exactly.
sticking in a small business meeting to discuss finances and things of that nature. I think once we establish where our budgeting lies and how we're going to seek revenue, if that is even all possible for an associate group, all of that is yet to be determined. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is that the sisters are willing to give us resources, professionals, people who know what they, for their own consolidation of all of their provinces. The 8 years that they took, they used professionals who assisted them, who had experience in helping congregations merge together.
Right. So you had some consultants that helped you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So we may
Right.
be going that route.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just from the standpoint that we need to move on in our agenda, we're going to share Suzanne's email address with anybody who would like it, if you would like to have a personal conversation with her. I think her insights are very valuable. And I think there are some groups in here who would probably really like more in-depth information. So what we will do is share that email with anybody who would like it. And then Suzanne has graciously volunteered to have that conversation with them. So Suzanne, thank you so much. We appreciate all the information you've shared with us today. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had an opportunity to have some good discussions. I know we had some really good points raised in our group. So now what we want to do is open it up for you to ask questions of our presenters, to state at least one idea that came up in your group. We had several, groups. I think, I don't know how many Toby ended up with. We don't have to hear from every group, but if you really had something that you think the others would benefit from, please share, because we're going to take notes. I'm going to encourage folks to share all of your ideas so that we can share them with others. But please raise your hand if you would like to either make a comment, ask a question, or share an idea from your group.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Lynn Delfino. I'm an IHM associate from Scranton, living in Cleveland. So I'm familiar with a lot of the Ohio communities as well, which is really fun. In our group, we talked about how do we cast the net beyond our contemporaries? You know, looking at associate membership right now, it tends to skew a little bit older, as was mentioned in one of the presentations. Young people bring a lot of new insights and energy. And so, you know, we want these charisms of ours to live on, you know, to be perpetuated. Two of the folks in our group shared about what the Ursulines in Youngstown are doing. They have a young adult group, and they recently brought in 6 new young adult associates this January on the Feast of St. Angela. So I think that's like a really positive development. We all agree it's a really positive development. So just as we're thinking about who to invite, maybe look beyond, you know, the people we usually hang out with. And I would say even as like a person in my early 40s, like, yeah, I need to look even beyond, you know, my group, you know, my contemporaries as well. We also had a fairly new associate in our group just commissioned in October. So she's still trying to figure out, you know, what it is that she wants to do, but shared a lot about her individual vocation as a special education teacher. And, you know, I think just validating again that associates live the charism in their own way every day. And so maybe there's a temptation there. I have to do something. We have to do something big. And maybe that comes, but maybe it doesn't. And that's okay. So those are some of the insights and ideas from our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Very helpful. Mary Ann.
In our group, we were actually able to discuss the fact that the Humility of Mary sisters, as well as the associates, collaborate a great deal with the Ursuline sisters and associates from Youngstown, because we have, you know, shared so much in education, in, you know, the Youngstown area. And so consequently, you know, we've continued over the years to work together and to collaborate with projects. You heard about the Dorothy Day House from Dan, but this has been an ongoing thing for a number of years. And I think that's very encouraging too, to be able to share with other associates, not from your own group, to share the ideas. That's why I love OPAL. All right, thank you.
April.
Things that really, like, I was the note taker for my group, and one of the things that I kind of took away from a couple of the different members was the need for inclusivity and redefining words or terms or positions in order to kind of let everyone know that everyone is welcome, that you are part of it, that we're in partnership, we're in community together. And it's not, while there might be different positions, there's no real hierarchy in the sense that one person is better than the other. It's everybody is in this together and all are welcome.
Amen. Carol.
My group had a lot of relatively young associates or new to the program. And it was nice to hear that they're getting the basics of this, that the importance is to carry on the charism and mission. We have to face the reality of dwindling numbers of religious, and that the church is changing, and so must we. It's important to be focusing on relationships and families and building that connectedness, because the truth is we're the future of the church. None of this was what they expected when they signed up. The whole environment that we live in, the whole world is changing. And we have to learn to adapt to the circumstances, but we need to go back to our most basic roots and look at the beginnings of our faith. How did Jesus build his following? He didn't stand on a mountain and point a finger and say, you do this and you do this and you do this, and everybody just did what they're supposed to. He lived among the people. He broke bread with the people. He built the relationships and the friendships, and that's what we're called to do. Leadership is no longer an authoritarian thing. I don't want to get into the politics. We see how that's working right now. It's among, yeah, it's being among the people, leading by example, with a good heart, with our charisms on our mind, and keeping our mission and the work of our founding sisters in our hands.
Everyone. I had the good fortune of being in a group with Rosemary and Virginia. We spoke a little bit about how um, we have felt called to be leaders and discerning kind of and hoping that we can do what is necessary and make come up with good ideas to help kind of build our associate communities. In particular, there was very good compliments for Jan and Judy's presentation about strategies and ways in which to build associate confidence, essentially, in what they're doing and kind of spreading the word and being ambassadors. We talked about the importance also of meeting people where they were. So the earlier group that mentioned the young adult ministry of the Ursuline Sisters, one of the things that I had talked about was the ability to kind of understand that if you have people at different stages of life, like young adults or new parents, for example, coming up with ways to get them to gather and get them to meet in ways that are conducive to their lives and their schedules at that time. I know, for example, Sister Norma has organized things like swim groups for new parents that have young children that are associates. And so they're able to participate in that way with their families and still get together and support one another's, which is important not only from an associate standpoint, but also as new parents. I know a lot of times from my own siblings who have children, when you're a new parent, you tend to, of course, be so focused on your family that sometimes you get isolated from others and other friends and other associate groups. And so that is a really wise move, in my opinion, to meet people kind of where they're at in their stages of life and figure out ways for you to build connection and community.
Yes, I think there was a recurring theme throughout all of the four groups of communities that were represented. But I think the most important thing was the importance of communication. Reach out to other communities to find out what they're doing. And in addition to being a member of OPAL, I'm also a member of the Women of Providence in Collaboration. So that's all of the communities that have Providence in their name, men and women. And we're discussing some of the same things that are going on here. I agree that we need a national group to come together. And you mentioned that, Donna, that we need some kind of a structure for a national group, and we can fall under that umbrella, particularly using consultants and finances and things like that. So those were some of the things that we spoke about.
Linda, I just want to follow up with that. I'm not sure the national part of it. I mean, Nate Carr struggled with that. But what we're finding even with OPAL is that if you can regionalize it, then it's a lot easier to form relationships. And I think back to Sister Carol Zinn a couple of years ago when she gave her presentation, and she said, we can't do things like we've always been doing them. We can't keep on trying to do the past more. We have to do it different. So I think that's one of the things we have to do is really start to look at how we can do things different, which means we may need to bring in consultants or experts in organizational structure and say, why don't you try this? Nicole, I know you had a question before. Please join us.
I just find everything today, just I use the words pure grand. It's just been wonderful, so helpful. I'm from Canada, Sisters of St. Joseph from Canada, and we are just beginning to look at the issue of structure and restructuring and coming together. And I remember one thing that one of the very wise women who are part of the Pembroke group in Canada, she said to us one day, she said, "You are now at the stage," and she said, "You are now there, that you must understand that what we've been doing for the last 30 or 40 years in building um, associate programs is we have taught you, you've been doing it how we taught you. Now it's your turn to teach new thinking, to bring new thinking, and to do things as lay women and men do them, and not as the sisters do them." And I haven't forgotten that, and it's been very helpful to me as we just are beginning in Canada to look at restructuring. We have, and Sisters of St. Joseph are international. There's 9,000 Sisters of St. Joseph around the world. There's over 8,000 associates. We cannot look at the international, that's impossible. But doing this, what you're doing, is so important. And you are facilitating it in such an easy way to understand. So I just want to say, Donna and your team, don't stop doing it, because this is what's going to help us reach where we need to reach.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to turn this over to Barb, and she is going to give you an update on our next steps and make final remarks. Barb?
Right, thanks very much. Just a big thank you to everyone who has joined us today, our presenters, Sister Toby for the hosting mechanics. I'd like to ask Patsy to share a few minutes about joining OPAL so that you would know some information about that first. Patsy Richards, are you still with us this morning? I don't know if she had to leave.
No, I'm here.
Oh, go ahead, Patsy.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Patsy Richards, and I'm a Humility of Mary associate. And I also I take care of membership, and I also take care of finances. So for those who would like to become members of OPAL, if you would contact me and I can give you information. My email address is B as in baby, P as in Paul, Richards, #2 @verizon.net, and I will get some information to you. For those who have not paid their membership fee or are wondering if there's a fee, the fee for a congregation or a community is $75, and the individual is $20. All of the leadership team, everyone is, they are all volunteers. So the funds that come in are all used to fund what OPAL needs to do. So you can contact me if you would like to become a member. If you are interested in becoming a new member and you need some information, please get in touch with me or contact us at OhioPAAssociates@gmail.com, and you can get some more information. So if you have any questions, please contact us. We're willing to help you in any way we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Patsy. We do have future programs coming up, and in the interest of time, just very briefly let you know about them. Our next OPAL Zoom meeting is going to be on May 3rd, Saturday morning. And just like this morning, we're going to have presenters. And in the May the May presenters will be from the Ursuline Sisters of Youngstown, Ohio, and the Sisters and Associates of Baden, Pennsylvania. Our topic is going to be about formation of associates. And then in July, once more, we have the IHMs on July 19th, I believe, is the morning. They're going to be speaking of leadership and membership. So what we're trying to do as an OPAL team is, like this today, provide leadership from those of you in the trenches, so to speak, and what you're doing. And if you found today helpful, then May and July will be as well. We do have an OPAL program planned for October 25th, and that'll be an all-day event at the Villa Marie in Pennsylvania and on Zoom. It'll be a hybrid of the two, but we have to get more information to you about that October 25th day, but at least you can put it on your calendar. So I think that gives a little brief synopsis, and Linda is going to conclude us with prayer.
Thank you, Barbara. I want to say how pleased I am to see so many people joining us today and sharing their thoughts and ideas.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in dark and sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them, my hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord,
A big thank you to everybody. It was a great morning. Thank you.